What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about what Europeans really think about U.S. tariffs. So, as most of you probably already are aware of, Donald Trump has been threatening tariffs against many different countries and also just the EU as a whole. As of right now, on March 12th, it looks like that Trump is going to impose a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. That's against every other country in the world. So I think the best way to kind of describe this from America's point of view is that Americans tend to fall within one of three different categories on this whole thing. Um, a lot of Americans in Group 1 either don't care or don't understand the whole tariff thing, so they don't really have a strong opinion on it. The second group would be Americans who think tariffs are amazing, magical, they're going to help the United States, boost our economy, create job growth, and all this stuff. And the third group would be Americans who think tariffs are the stupidest thing ever and they are just aggravating the rest of the world, making them hate us even more, creating trade wars, that kind of thing. But I think overall, since we are the country, the nation that is imposing the tariffs on others, I think a lot of Americans don't really bother to learn about the perspective of other countries who are the target of the tariffs. When you are the one imposing it, I think it leads to a lot of school of thought of a lot of Americans not really bothering to hear the European perspective on it, which I think is a terrible mindset to have. So today, I really want to learn more about this and some opinions of Europeans and others who are being targeted by the tariffs. So I want to take a look at this Reddit discussion. It says EU is warning Trump it will respond firmly to tariffs. And I mean, yeah, I think a lot of Americans don't. Maybe we're starting to kind of wake up to this, but when at first it sounded like, oh, tariffs. Okay, we don't really understand what it means, but it's going to be good for the United States. Okay, yeah. I think a lot of Americans thought that way, and now it's like, wait a minute, this leads to trade wars and reciprocal tariffs back at us. And I think a lot of Americans did not realize that was even a thing when it all started. It's yeah, not good, not good. You should probably know that kind of stuff before you go ahead and do it. So let's see what people are saying about this from Europe. We should respond viciously. 100% tax for Tesla and go after X. Never negotiate with bullies until you've bloodied their nose. Is that like how a lot of Europeans kind of see the United States? This word in particular pains me. Bully. Like the United States is a bully. Like that's, yeah, I think more Americans should kind of like broaden our horizons and listen to this kind of stuff because as an American, that definitely hurts to read. But let's keep going here. This is good to see. So, judging by the Canada Mexico tariffs, it's like he and his people didn't realize retaliatory tariffs were a thing. EU can hurt the United States a whole lot more than they can. Exactly. Exactly. It really does feel like, because it started really with Canada and Mexico, that a lot of Americans didn't realize the downsides to tariffs. Yeah, I think I think it's funny because when Trump was running for president, he was saying a lot of different policy decisions, and people liked that. a lot of Americans wanted a big, major change in our government, and boy, did we get it. But one of the things he kind of randomly brought up, sort of towards the end of his campaigning for president, was the idea of tariffs. And a lot of us, when we heard this, first we ran to Google to try to Google what's a tariff? Like, what's he talking about? And then I think a lot of Americans were like, okay, I don't really feel that strongly about tariffs. I don't really care if we do that. Or I don't even want us to do that. But a lot of Americans wanted to vote for Donald Trump. So it's this weird situation where I think now that he is the president, a lot of Americans kind of forgot about the whole tariff thing. There were a lot of other different issues in American politics that were much more important at the time. And now that he's the president, he is indeed following up on his promise on the campaign trail of tariffs. And a lot of Americans are like, oh yeah, that's right. He was going to do tariffs. And a lot of Americans really don't feel strongly about tariffs, and a lot of Americans a lot of Americans wouldn't have cared if there were no tariffs. If you know what I'm saying, like, it just wasn't a thing the United States was prioritizing or caring about, for lack of a better word. And then Trump kind of just made it into a thing. And now it feels like we just are rolling with it. Yeah. And now he's the president, so there you go. Yeah, I know that's a kind of a weird, convoluted way but that's kind of what I genuinely think happened a bit, which led us into this situation. A lot of people wanted Trump for other reasons, and now that he's president, he's doing some of those things he was voted into office to do, but he's also doing the tariff thing. Anyway. Let's scroll down here a little bit. Okay. Europe could be a superpower if they didn't hand wring before making a decision. I hope they hit America hard with counter tariffs and really start looking at India, Africa, and LATAM to diversify. Don't want them doing a Starmer and doubling down on trying to reason with Mango Mussolini. There's a few things in here I don't understand. Maybe I'm showing my American ignorance here. I'm positive that I am. Not sure what LATAM is. Not sure who Mango is. But this is interesting. Europe could be a superpower if they didn't hand wring. Hand wring. Wringing your hand. Like, does it take a lot of time to make decisions? That kind of thing? Let's keep going. Boycotting physical products from the United States won't make much of a difference. Their real money comes from financial services and investments, not just the stuff they make. If you really want to hit them where it matters, God, this is so bizarre. As an American, I don't agree with all the tariff stuff going on, but it's still strange for me to read, like, Europeans talking about the downfall of the United States. If you really want to hit the US where it matters, it's like, oh my God, like, this is kind of scary. Focus on targeting United States investments. For example, tax anyone putting money in US stocks, pull EU pension funds out of American investments, raise taxes on them. Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of stuff would definitely get our attention, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, this whole situation is just super unfortunate. I mean, now the United States is invoking tariffs, which is going to hurt other countries, possibly hurt ourselves, because tariffs can have a lot of negative effects on the country imposing them, as well as, in theory, some positive effects as well. But then other countries around the world are going to put tariffs on us, which are going to have negative effects on us, maybe negative effects on the country doing the retaliatory tariff, because if you're arguing that tariffs are bad, then it's like, okay, we do it, it's bad for us. If others do it to us, it's bad for them. Nobody wins. It's just madness. Um, yeah. If tariff is the new language of you can read this for yourself. Is that what we're called now? Ah, the EU is prepared to speak the language that we understand. Oh my God. My God. Okay. That's funny and scary. As the EU should. We're not pushovers. I can't wait to not drink Jack D. What is Jack D? Jack Daniels. Yeah, like an American liquor brand? So that leads me to this discussion here. Europeans, with tariffs being threatened on the EU, are you planning to stop buying US made products? Is this a thing? Like, this is another thing Americans don't, like, hear about. It's not in our news. Like, and it really should be a topic of discussion because this is very, very, very important if Europeans are starting to boycott American goods. Let's take a look here. It says, as a normal customer, it's fairly hard to buy products from the US in Poland. Oh, so for Poland, you're not really buying our stuff anyway. I buy sweets from Japan or the USA, but that's because it's exotic. I would have to look hard to eliminate American products from my shopping list. Oh, okay, I mean, all right, let's reorganize these comments. So if you're in Poland, you've been boycotting America since forever, I guess. you never liked our stuff. Yes, we should boycott American goods. Although to be fair, aside from online services, there isn't much I need to stop doing. Quitting American fast food chains is something I should have done a long time ago. Sure, yeah, I'm trying to think of like, it does get a little convoluted what companies are owned by who, because even if there's a singular company like McDonald's, that's an American brand, you never know if they're just a shell company that's owned by a bigger company. You know, there's always a company that owns the company, and it's like who's at the top of it all? Like who even knows? You can't even boycott countries these days. You don't even know who makes what. As a normal customer, it is fairly hard to. Oh, this is the Poland guy again. Okay. Besides Windows, Microsoft Office, Android, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, ChatGPT, Google, Instagram, Netflix, and Amazon, I don't use American products or services. That's true. I mean, this discussion isn't really going exactly how I thought. I'm thinking if Europeans are going to boycott American goods, it's physical goods like Jack Daniels, like certain brands of alcohol you're not going to buy out of protest. But yeah, now that you look, kind of spell it out and look at it, there's a lot of digital assets that are American that are pretty important, unfortunately. If you're a European looking to boycott us, maybe you like using Facebook, or you probably enjoy Googling stuff, makes it hard. They talked about this on the radio earlier. This is someone from Sweden. As I understood it, the reason Trump plans on putting up tariffs is because the EU buys less stuff from the US and vice versa. This is another thing. As an American, I don't really understand one of Trump's argument points here. So we're supposed to be upset that there is inequality in our trade. We're supposed to be upset that America buys more European goods than Europe buys from America. That it's not, it doesn't make any sense to me, to be honest. It's not like we're being taken advantage of. It's not like we're getting nothing out of that. If we're buying European goods, a lot more than Europeans are buying American goods, we are getting European goods. We're buying stuff and using it and benefiting from Europe. How is that a bad thing? How is that being taken advantage of? I truly don't understand that point, truly. I, for one, don't know if any US-made product that I buy regularly. My last purchases was an American pancake mix. I won't buy it again. Tasted like sponge cakes. Okay. All right. Boycott our goods. But once you start talking ill about our pancakes, that's where I draw the line. Let's take a look at a few more here. Already cutting things where I can find them. Wow. So this seems to be a real thing. Definitely in Canada and also in Europe. Boycotting American goods and services, just not buying American. Yeah, unfortunately, another part of this is I think Americans aren't being very vocal against the tariffs. So I assume this is going to continue, and the steel and aluminum tariffs are probably going to go through March 12th. I think for any of this tariff stuff to become truly unpopular or controversial in America, is for it to have a real effect on Americans. If there's a real negative effect on Americans through reciprocal tariffs, trade wars, the price of our goods going up because of tariffs, or other countries boycotting American goods, hurting our economy, that's the kind of thing that will make Americans care. Because there's just a lack of caring right now. And I don't even think it's malicious in a way. It's just, as I said, a lot of Americans don't understand what tariffs are or the effects they have, or a lot of Americans don't understand what's going to happen in return, like tariffs on us in response to this. And a lot of Americans just don't tend to care about things until it affects them. For if that makes sense, I'm not saying I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's kind of how it is. I think I'm speaking for a lot of people when I say I have no idea what products are made in the United States. I guess we'll notice when they suddenly shoot up in price. That's, yeah, true. Nonetheless, the whole affair with Mexico and Canada has already made me way more skeptical of our relationship, and I don't think even the eventual change of leadership will change that. That's another sad thing for me as an American, is it feels like no matter what happens at this point, the relationship between the United States and the rest of the world is being changed. It's being tarnished. We're creating a strained relationship with a lot of different countries because of this whole tariff thing. And that's really sad. And it feels like even when Trump is gone, our relationship will still be broken because of this whole debacle, and who knows how long it could take to repair. And that's a whole other really sad part about this. As an American, I really pains me to see that. But I just wanted to take some time today to kind of see the European perspective on some of this tariff stuff. Here in America, you just get American news, American opinions, or lack of opinions. So this was really great. Eye-opening, super interesting. And so anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. If you're European, this affects you, and you probably have an opinion about it. That'd be really interesting to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.